Good people, another episode of the All Go podcast. I'm your host, Desmond. Thank you for tuning in. Today, so I put out a quick YouTube short as soon as I heard about the Brian Branch suspension. He has been suspended for one game, which it looks will be the Tampa Bay game that is Monday. It sounds like he's going to appeal it, which all this stuff is just kind of a mess. I don't know exactly what that looks like or how soon they're gonna have the ruling. If I had to guess, they would have it by Friday, hopefully sooner. I mean, Thursday would be ideal just because of different reps you want to get in and things of that nature. If he can't play, you want to have his backup ready to play and have some reps during the week. But I get both sides of it. On one hand, from what I've been seeing, there was the first game or one of the first games of the year where the Chiefs played the Chargers, and I think it was Tillery was the D lineman, but he ended up like open hand smacking Travis Kelce live in the game. And I don't remember what his punishment was, if it was just the 15-yarder. But long story short, he didn't get suspended for a game. And I think that's probably going to be Brian Branch's angle of, look, now Branch did go a little past that with the, grabbing Juju and slinging him down and all that. But I think that would be one side of it. The other side, I think, would be if you're on the side of Branch should be suspended for the game, would be, well, you also did yours after the game where his was in the game, you could argue in the heat of the moment, but also too, it was very soon after the heat of the moment. Like I saw Nick Wright had mentioned oh, this is the peacetime and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, it was right after the game. And then also too, there's been this weird thing that, because Brian Branch didn't shake Patrick Mahomes' hand, he's not obligated to do that. Listen, I coach 5th and 6th grade football. Those guys have to shake hands with everybody. NFL, they don't, right? We saw that with Tom Brady on some games where he would lose. He would go straight to the locker room. I didn't see any problem with that. So I get it. Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback in the NFL, but that doesn't mean that we've got that somebody's obligated to shake your hand just because you put it up. That's on you. Now, and then also too, Branch felt like Juju clipped him, blocked him in the back. And then also earlier in the game, Patrick Mahomes flexed on him. I don't think that's why Branch did what he did to Juju, but I do think that's potentially the reason why he didn't want to shake Patrick Mahomes' hand as well. So with the Patrick Mahomes part, I think Branch is well within his rights not to shake his hand. The Juju thing, I'm like, we'll see what happens. I'm not quite sure. So we'll see with that. But like I said, it sounds like he is going to appeal that. So we'll see what happens with Branch. The other thing I wanted to mention was the firing of James Franklin. There's been people on different sides of this argument with Franklin. One is that, one side of the argument is he's a really good coach, and who else are you going to get? We can wait on the second part of that question of who are you going to get. But as far as he's a really good coach, yes, that is true. Mark Richt was a really good coach too. He got fired. And the list goes on. I mean, it's not – Gus Malzahn was a really good coach. He got fired. There's plenty of coaches who have been good that have gotten fired. And James Franklin is no different. Like, at the end of the day, with the amount of money that is in college football today, there's never been more of it. The fact that they are willing to pay you $50 million to go away and not coach here lets you know how big of a deal this is. This is a big deal. This is Penn State. So people were talking, they were one play away from the national championship. Let's relax on that, because you can go through 50 games in a season and say that this team was one play away from that, and whatever. At the end of the day, you didn't beat a really good team. And also too, I've heard, well, he won 2 college football playoff games. That is also factual. That's correct. What I would also say in that, and I'm sure if you are seeing this and watch college football, you've heard the narratives as well, was why the heck does Oregon have the path that they have to a national championship, and Penn State, who's number 5, has the easier path to get to a national championship? Like, that was a narrative, and because it took freaking 3 weeks to play a playoff game, we heard it for a long time. So it's not as if Penn State went through some gauntlet. They played SMU and Boise State. And I'm not trying to knock those programs. They did what they had to do to get into the college football playoff. I wish my team, Alabama, would have made it last year, but they didn't. But the point is, it's not like he was favored in both of those games. That's literally the James Franklin special. Games he's favored in, he wins. Pretty consistently. He's not perfect, but the problem is you play a couple good teams every year in the Big Ten. That just is what it is. And, I mean, you don't win the Big Ten. When's the last time you won the conference? I believe it was like 2015, 2016. You had the 2 college football playoff wins, so definitely you deserve all the kudos for those 2. But let's not make it seem like you beat Ohio State. You beat one of the top tier teams in the playoff. You didn't. So I am someone, I do understand it, because if you're Penn State, you want more. Like, you want more. We think we have the facilities, we have the commitment when it comes to donors, boosters, etc., that we should be competing for the national championships, not Big Ten runner-ups. So I do understand it. And who else are you going to get? Get the best coach you can. And if it doesn't work with him, fire him and then try to get another one of the best coaches that you can. This is not some, family-owned business where we've got to have one guy for an eternity and he gets to produce whatever results he wants. I mean, and also, too, this notion that James Franklin has been just flawless for his entire tenure at Penn State. I'm not saying he's been bad. He's not. But he's paid to be one of the elite coaches in the Big Ten. And he has not been that. And in this day and age, like think of it this way. And I don't know what he was being paid, and I didn't look it up. But if they're willing to pay you $50 million to go away, like, you've got to understand, this is a large business, and we want results. It's simple. It's about as simple as it could be. We want results. That's pretty much it. We want results, right? You can't by happenstance beat an Ohio State or Michigan in one of their up years. Like, that was pretty bad. It was 3 years ago, when J.J. McCarthy, and granted, that was a terrific Michigan team, but that team didn't even throw the ball in the second half of the game, and you couldn't beat that team. Like, I just the James Franklin apologist, it's a bit much for me. It's a results-oriented business, and James Franklin knows that. That's why he gets paid what he does. It's because it is such a results-oriented business. I saw some commentary about, well, he's one of the guys that, he really wants the best for the sport and so on and so forth. If I'm the Penn State athletic director, I don't care about that. Now, there's a huge area between me not caring about that and then between he wants what's best for the sport and then scandalous. You know what I mean? There's a huge gap in between there. I could play in that gray area. I care about results, right? I don't want any scandals coming out of the school, and they've had some, unfortunately. But if the guy is cutthroat and just wants to do what it takes to win, cool. Make sure you're not, coloring outside of the lines, but I don't care about that. Graduation rates for the school. They're here to play football. I'd rather you send a lot of these kids to the NFL. Yeah, I want them to all get their degrees and all that good stuff. But this reciprocal relationship we have is we pay them to come to the school. They help us win national championships. We send them to the NFL. That's what this relationship is. Heck, I'm pretty sure in the next 10 years, the school might be optional for most of these football players because it's just like, hey, we want them to come here and play football. That's pretty much it. So I'm just not. I'm not in this. Penn State is insane. I'm not there at all. I get it, because what if Matt Campbell can come in here and win, win the Big Ten in year 2 and win a national championship in year 5? I think that would work. Also, too, with Franklin, and I think he's an offensive guy. I'm not even quite sure, but I think he's more a CEO, head coach, where he's kind of overseas. But, they can't get this quarterback spot right for the life of them. I mean, it's been a long time since they've had an elite quarterback. Trace McSorley was pretty good. I think McSorley's probably been the best quarterback Franklin's had since Trace McSorley. I'm trying to think. I don't think Hackenberg was after. I think Hackenberg was O'Brien's tenure. So you had Trace McSorley, Drew Aller now. I can't even remember quarterbacks that they've had, other than that, which leads me to think you haven't been able to nail that position. And at the end of the day, these quarterbacks want to go somewhere where they can perform, they can play well, they can be put in a spot to succeed. Now, I'm someone who thinks this next crop of quarterbacks is going to be pretty bad. I don't see it with. I didn't see it with Aller. I don't see it with Nussmeier. I don't see it with Arch. I think what the South Carolina quarterback probably has the best shot to be the number 1 QB. We'll see how the rest of the season works out. But these other guys, these guys are they've got some improving to do. So we'll see. But I like I said, I'm not someone who thought that this is an insane decision by Penn State. It's not. They want more. They have the right to want more. That just is what it is. So they made the decision. Let's see who they start to look at and go from there. But let me know your thoughts. That's it for me. Peace.